everyone who will be watching this video. My name is Nelma Casado from HRM3B, and we are the group 3 that we have talked about the relationship between business and society. So I am the first reporter, and I will be discuss about the business. Business may be defined as the collection of private, commercially oriented organization ranging in size from one family proprietorships such as the sari-sari store to corporate giants, for example like Coca-Cola, Apple, and Google. Between these two extremes are many medium-sized proprietorship, partnerships, and corporations. But when studying business and society, there is a tendency to focus more on big businesses and highly visible industries. This is because their products are more well-known and they exert more power and influence compared to small business. Yes, of course, we have the big companies that can kanang ilado na para magamit siya for business. Like for example, Coca-Cola, this is a giant companies that society well known. And business can positively influence how society operates. It can build and maintain social capital through its core operations, the goods and services it provides, and the activities supported through increasingly global and complex supply chains. In addition, some industries are simply more conducive than others in the creation of visible social profit. For example, many businesses by their very nature can cause visible air, water, and solid waste pollution and contribute to climate changes. Such firms therefore are more likely to subject to criticism than a life insurance company which emits no obvious pollutant. Some industries are highly visible because their products are advertised more frequently. Other industries such as tobacco products and foods are criticized because of the possible effects of their products on health or because of the rules in providing health-related products. For example, food companies also produce vitamins that will accompany their food products. And for these reasons, when discussing business and its relationship with society, the common focus tends to be on large business and well-known industries. However, we should also consider the fact that small and medium-sized companies increasingly represent things which our discussion also apply. In recent years, the social responsibilities of small enterprises and the development movement towards social entrepreneurship has captivated increasing attention. And Ms. Esmer Grace will be continuing the society reporting.
So, good morning everyone. This is the continuation about the report business. So I will be tackle about the society. So what is society? Society may be thought as a community or a nation or a broad grouping of people with common traditions, values, institutions, and collective activities and interests. So when discussing business and the total society is a thought of as being composed of numerous interest groups, more or less formalized organizations, and a wide variety of institutions. So, gaano kahalaga ang isang business or negosyo sa ating lipunan or in our society? So, business recruits workers, buy supplies, and borrow money. They also sell products and pay taxes. So, business and society are highly independent, meaning wala ni siya gi-impluwensyahan or gi-control sa uban. What is the importance of a society into a business? So, kabalo man ta nga ang isa ka business na produce og goods and different services, no? Pero imposible po di mabuhat sa isa ka business kung walay tabang ang society. So, to operate successfully, ang business needs various resources that are available in our society. So, unsa ni mga resources? Example, mga employees, mga trabahante, no? Mga customers and other stakeholders such as communities which is nagpapatakbo at nagsisilbi sa isa ka negosyo. So therefore, no? To make it short, no, ang business and society kumbaga needs each other, no? Need nila ang usa't usa. Dili pod mabuhat sa business kung wala society, dili pod mabuhat sa isa ka society kung wala ko'y business. So ang business and society needs each other para it firms generate economic growth and employment, no, para mulago ang atong mga ekonomiya ug makatabang sa pagpabuti sa mga buhay ng mga tao. So that would be all.
Rendelo Asombrado. My assigned topic is about society as the macro environment. So, what is macro environment? The macro environment is the comprehensive societal context kung saan naninirahan ang mga organisasyon. Ang konsepto ng macro environment ay nagbubunga ng iba't ibang larawan o paraan ng pag-iisip tungkol sa mga relasyon at sa negosyo at lipunan, at sa makatuwid ay mahalaga sa mga tuntunin ng pagsusuri at pag-unawa sa kabuuang konteksto ng negosyo. Ang isang macro-environment ay bubuuin ng 4 na makilala ngunit magkakaugnay na mga segment: social, economic, political, and technological. Social environment, it focuses on demographics, lifestyle, cultures, and social values of the society. The social values and culture of an environment play a huge role in the functioning of the company. So when the social environment changes, it can have a direct or indirect effect on the company. For example, sa kamakailang panahon, ang lipunan ay nakakita ng pagbabago at ang mga tao ay hindi na nagretiro sa edad na 60. Nagtrabaho sila ng 5 hanggang 10 taon papagkatapos ng 60. Kaya ito ay nagkaroon ng malaking epekto sa mga kumpanya. Economic environment. It addresses the nature and direction of the economy in which business operates. The economic powers identify which factors that influence customer buying power and spending designs. For example, ang isang organisasyon ay hindi dapat magsimulang mag-export ng mga produkto nito sa isang bansa bago masuri kung magkano ang aktwal na gustong gastusin ng mga individual. Ang mga makabuluhang hakbang ay ang gross domestic product, import duty, value tax, rate at buwis sa pagbinta, inflation, personal na disposable income, underemployment at unemployment. Political environment focuses on the process by which the laws get passed and the government officials are elected and all of the forms of interactions between firms, political practices, and government. Each business is respected by the world of politics. This includes laws, government offices, and strength of pressure groups which impact and limit associations and people of the general public. Alang-sunod dito ang mga pagpipilian sa pag-promote at marketing ay walang alinlangan na naapektuhan at naiimpluwensyahan ng mga pagsulong sa mundo ng politika. Bago pumasok sa isa pang merkado sa isang malayong bansa, ang organisasyon ay dapat magkaroon ng malalim na pag-unawa sa tungkulin ng pampolitika at legal na kapaligiran. Ano ang ibig sabihin ng pagsasabatas para sa negosyo? Anong mga patakaran ay kailangan nitong sundin? Ang mga batas ang maaaring maghigpit sa kapasidad ng kumpanya na maging epektibo. Halimbawa, ang mga batas na sumasaklaw sa mga issue tulad ng proteksyon sa ekolohiya, pagpipresyo, kaligtasan ng produkto, kompetisyon, at mga regulasyon pangkaligtasan ay maaaring mangailangan ng kumpanya na ayusin ang mga partikular na estrahiya at sistema sa bagong dekada. Technological environment focuses on the changes in technological advancement. In the times we live in, technology is constantly changing. It is important that the business can keep up with the changes. Technology does not only confine to computers and IT services. It includes products, manufacturing, processes, and techniques. Ang mga pag-unlad ng teknolohiya ay maaaring maging isang malaking kalamangan para sa isang kumpanya. Ngunit sa parehong oras ng teknolohiya na ginagamit ng kumpanya ay nagiging hindi na ginagamit dahil sa mga naturang pag-unlad. Kung gayon, maaari rin itong maging isang banta sa kumpanya. Understanding that business and society relationships are embedded in a macro environment provides us with a constructive way of understanding the kinds of issues that constitute the broad environment in which business functions. And that is the end of my report now.
The pluralistic society. The macro-environment societies are typically pluralistic. The relationships of business and society become complex and dynamic, which is more consistent and progressive through pluralistic societies. So, what is pluralism? Why it made the relationship of business and society more dynamic and complex. Pluralism refers to the distribution of power among societies, many groups and organizations. It became a way to have a peaceful society by respecting diversity and giving importance about the equality. A long-standing definition of a pluralistic society is helpful. A pluralistic society is one in which there is wide decentralization and diversity of power concentration. Decentralization and diversity are the keywords. In other words, the power are distributed equally. It is not concentrated to one group or area only, such as government, business, military, and labor. The pluralistic society is common in the world right now since there are a lot of advocates about the equality. The qualities of pluralistic society. One of these qualities is prevents power from being concentrated in the hands of few. Next, the maximizes freedom of expression and action and strike a balance between monism and anarchy. Monism is a social organization into one institution, and anarchy is social organization into infinite number of persons. Next is the allegiance of individuals to groups is dispersed. For the next is creates a widely diversified set of loyalties to many organizations and minimizes the danger that leader of any one organization will be left uncontrolled. For the last one is to provides a built-in set of checks and balances in that group can exert over one another with no single organizations. It's either business or government, dominating and becoming overly influential. The strength and weaknesses of pluralism. The qualities of a pluralistic society are the strength of pluralism. Those are pluralistic societies prevents power from being held by one group or few persons to maximize the freedom of expression and action, and so on. Pluralism has built-in set of checks and balances so that no single group dominates. However, a weakness of pluralistic system is that it creates an environment where different institutions pursue their own self-interest and goals. It will possibly arises a misunderstanding of different perspective, beliefs, and advocacy because they have their own pinaglalaban. As a result, there is no observable unified direction that should bring together individual pursuits. Another weakness is that the groups and institutions multiply to the extent that their goals start to overlap. Thus, causing confusion as to which organization best serve which functions. Pluralism forces conflict or differences in opinions onto center stage because of its emphasis on autonomous group, each pursuing its own objective. In light of these concerns, a pluralistic system does not appear to be very efficient. Through it, thus provide the greater balance of power among groups in society. Multiple public system and stakeholder. Since the society is composed of many different simultaneous and autonomous groups, those are the group where they are not totally knowledgeable but they are free to govern themselves and have this power to fight what they're fighting for. We may think that society has no generally accepted meaning. Nevertheless, we define society as a total collectivity of all those persons, groups, and institutions. Thus, when we refer business and society relationship, we may refer the either specific segment or subgroups of society or to business and some system in our society. These groups of people or system also may be referred to an institutional form. The illustration shows the point of interface between business and some of the multiple public systems of stakeholder with which the business interact. As the business interacts to the government interacts to its local, state, and federal, while the employees, unions, older employees, women, minorities, civil liberties activists. For the consumer, it is the consumer activist and product liability threats. For the owners, corporate traders, private citizens, institutional investors. And for the community, the environmental groups and general public. Stakeholder are the groups or individuals with whom the organization interacts or has interdependencies, which will be discussed later on. It is important to note that each stakeholder group may be further subdivided into more specific subgroups, with each of them posing special challenges for business. If sheer numbers of relationship and interactions are an indicator of complexity, it is easily seen that business current relationship with different segments of society constitute a truly complex macro environment. Today, managers must deal with these interfaces in a daily basis, and the study of business and in society is designed to improve that understanding.
Good day, ma'am. I am Trisha May Lambri, and my report was all about Special Interest Society. Special Interest Society is a person or group seeking to influence legislative or government policy to further often narrowly defined interests. A pluralistic society will eventually become a society of special interest. For example of pluralistic society is one in which many different groups and political parties are allowed to exist. Pluralism spreads a society with tens of thousands of special interest organizations, and each with its own purpose emerges. Pluralism spreads is like a political philosophy, is the recognition and affirmation of diversity within a political body. There are still general purpose interest organizations, also known as advocacy groups. However, interest groups that represent various facets of society, consumers, employees, investors, communities, the environment, government, and business have become more specialized during the past few decades. Numerous of this organization go under the name of the non-governmental organizations or NGOs. NGOs is such as Amnesty International, the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, Oxfam International Care, Save the Children, and the World Wildlife Fund. They are citizens organizations that could be local, national, or global in the scope. Many of these NGOs work as watchdogs and actors in the connection between business and society today. Number 2. The topic of the minimum wage, for instance, many organizations are voicing their perspective and goals. Minimum wage is the lowest wage per hour that a worker may be paid, as mandated by federal law. Many organizations believe that the minimum wage should be equal to the cost of living. Some contended that the current minimum wage is outdated. One needs to be raised to match economic inflation so that individuals can adopt their standard of living. Others contended that small enterprises will suffer and are likely to fail if salaries are increased too quickly. Specializations among insurance groups have the effect of attracting a large following of supporters. More people will work for their specific and limited goals. As a result of expanded membership, which has raised profits, the major institutions like business, government, the likelihood of these groups operating inconsistently and without a shared vision has made life incredibly difficult. However, this is now a pluralistic society that cooperates. That's all.
Business criticisms and corporate response. In a pluralistic society, many of its major institutions such as business and government will be subject to analysis and criticism. Much of the reason of criticism is not to degrade the institution, but to let people know that there are ways for the institutions to improve. Social factors have created an atmosphere in which business criticism has flourished. One of these factors is the increased awareness and concern for the social environment in which it operates. Another is the changed social contract between business and society. Over the years, many factors in the social environment have created a climate in which criticism of business takes place and flourishes. Some of these arise independently, but some of them are interrelated. Affluence and education. Two factors that exist side by side in developed economies are affluence and education. As society becomes more advanced and educated, there is also a higher expectation from its institutions. Affluence refers to the level of wealth, disposable income, and standards living of the society. As citizens gain more formal education, there is expectation that the standard of living will arise. The rating factors such as unemployment and underemployment are also at work. Business is often singled out to be a major culprit when income and educational levels plateau or decline. Affluence, education, awareness. Factors in the social environments, rising expectations, entitlement mentality, rights movement, victimization philosophy, business criticism. It's defined as the act of expressing disapproval and of noting the problems or fault of a person or thing. The act of criticizing someone or something, a remark or comment that expresses disapproval of someone or something. Criticism is the workplace is generally imagined as situation around a manager and a subordinate, but it is not limited to that. Business criticism it increased concern for the social environment, change social awareness through television, movies, internet, and social media. Television provides an abundance of information that contributes to a climate of business criticism. Movies have increasing criticism for both the capitalist system and businesses. Internet and rise of smartphones have brought a larger awareness of what is happening around the world. These forms of media touch all socio-economic classes.
Good day, ma'am. I am Rosalinda AKA and my task is to report the continuation of Mr. Villucelius' report, which is the business criticism and corporate response, news and investigative programs. There are at least 3 ways in which information that leads to criticism of business appears on television. First, street news shows such as 24 Hours News Channel. Example, CNN, DNC, Fox News. Next, the evening news on the major networks. Example, TV Patrol, 24 Horas, and investigative news programs, Front Row and investigative documentaries of GMA and SOCO of ABS-CBN.
Isang pangunahing pag-aaral ang natukoy ng mga senior executive ang media criticism, kasama ang unethical na pag-uugali bilang ang pinakamalaking banta sa reputasyon ng isang kumpanya. 24/7 news coverage is different from investigative news programs that often present expose of corporate wrongdoings or questionable practices, whereas the street news programs make some efforts to be objective. The investigative shows are tougher on business, tending to favor stories that expose to the dark side of the enterprises or their executives. These shows are enormously popular and influential. Many companies avoid reporters that show up on their premises complete with camera crews.
Primetime television programs. One way of criticism sa mga negosyo that showed in the television through primetime programs. Kadalasan ilarawan ng mga negosyante sa negatibong pananaw, tulad ng isang presidente ng isang kumpanya o mayamang negosyanteng aktibo sa pangangalakal ng droga. Ang mga ito ay nilarawan bilang humingiti, nanuloko at nagkukunwari. Example, President Business of the Lego Movie, Lex Luthor and Lenny Superman movies, and a corporation called By and Large from Walden.
Commercials. Ang ikatlong paraan. Through commercials, madali lang ma-well-known o madali lang makabenta. In short, madaling tumakbo ang isang business. In the opposite side, maaari rin silang masira kung mag-promote sila ng produkto at serbisyo na panilang at hindi dapat.
Movies. Movies are also source of business criticism. Hollywood seems to portray corporations as powerful, profit-seeking. Enterprises seems to love advising the good is good. Portrayal of business. Leonardo DiCaprio's scams in the Wolf of Wall Street are especially memorable of the dark side of business people. Social media. Social media make things possible for the marketers and businessmen para makipag-ugnayan or makipag-usap sa daan-daan o libu-libong tao patungkol sa mga produkto, serbisyo o mga patakaran with the use of social media like Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Google Plus at Snapchat. Through social media, it makes easier for the customer to buy. That's all, ma'am, about my topic.
Revolution of rising expectations. In spite of the tough economic times, millennials still hold high expectations for a better life. Despite living during difficult times, society is still characterized as an impulse society. A 2016 study of millennials found that they still embrace high hopes and expectation for success. As expectation about how we live change. The same is true with regards to the expectations to the businesses. Some have observed that we may have entered an era of diminishing economic expectations, but whether this turns out to apply to business, social performance remains to be seen. The illustration below shows how the gap between society's expectation and actual performance leads to the social problem of the businesses. The social problem is experienced as the gap grows between society expectation of firms, social performance and its actual social performance. Rising expectations are normally greater the level of response that the business can give or perform. This leads to a predicament where it will be subject to endless criticism for not meeting public expectations. While this trend may continue, it does not mean that this phenomenon will exist always. Historically, job situation, health, families, lives, and overall quality of the life have continued to improve. To the effect of the recent economic recession makes their future hard to predict.
Entitlement mentality refers to a general belief that a person must receive something in return just because she is part of the society. So an employee who is already part of the organization, right, she is working, this entitlement mentally should be given to her, but this only common in the government. There are same entitlement which are being supposed to be given to an employee like the above mentioned entitlements earlier. If these entitlements are not given to an employee, it might have serious implication in which it will put the business take at rest. Rights movement is a simple rights for each and every individual. The right to privacy and right of due process is the essential rights of every individual of which they are able to protect their lives if something might happen to them. There are some groups of different people who are still claiming for the due special protection and privilege because for them it is being taken away or being ignored by the state. Victimization philosophy. People start perceiving that they are being unfairly hurt by societies, institutions, government, businesses, and education. Business power, the ability or capacity to produce an effect or to bring influence to bear on a situation or people.
Morning everyone, I'm Marlon A. Daniel Jr. I'm here to report about the general criticism of business, the use and abuse of power. There are many criticisms against the business throughout the years, such as business is too big, it is too powerful, it is the cause of pollution, and so on. If there is one common thread in this grievance, it would be the business use and abuse power. In a survey made by Bloomberg regarding business power, 2 out of 3 Americans believe that the business hold too much power and influence in the society and its common people. Business power. Business power refers to capacity or ability to produce an effect, have impact, or to bring influence to bear on a situation or people. There are levels of power. Business power exists and manifested at several different levels. The 4 levels are macro level, intermediate levels, micro level, and individual level. The first level is macro level. Macro level refers to the entire corporate system and the total of business organization. In this level, power is reflected based on a size, amount of sources, and the dominance of the corporate system over the society. The next level is intermediate level. Intermediate level refers to the group of corporation acting together in effort to produce a desired effect. to set prices, control markets, dominate purchasers, promote an issue, or pass or defeat a legislation. The next level is micro level. Micro level refers to the power of the individual firm. This might refer to the exertion of power or influence by any major corporation. Examples for this are influence exerted by corporations such as Google, Apple, Microsoft, and Nike. The final level is the individual level. Individual level refers to the individual corporate leader that has the power within the corporation. Examples of individual level: Ramon Laguarta, the CEO of Pepsi; Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple; and James Quincy, the CEO of Coca-Cola. Spheres of power. Aside from levels of power, there are also many different spheres or areas in which the business power may be manifested. Some of these spheres include economic power, political power, social and cultural power, power over the individual, technological power, and environmental power. This figure shows one way to look at an example, the 4 levels and spheres of the power. Is the power of business excessive? Does the business abuse its power? Apparently, many people think so. To provide sensible and fair answer to these questions, however, one must carefully specify which level of power is being referred to and in which sphere the power is being exercised. Whether business abuses its power is a question we will continue to examine, and certainly one that the business system and companies need to keep in forefront of their thinking.
Balancing power with responsibility. Whether or not business abuse its power or allows its use of power to become excessive is a central issue that cuts through all the topics will be discussed. But power should not be viewed in isolation from responsibility. And this power-responsibility relationship is the foundation of appeals for corporate social responsibility, which are the heart of business and society discussion. Iron law of responsibility. This concept addresses the statement: in the long run, those who do not use power in a manner which society considers responsible will tend to lose it. Stated another way, whenever power and responsibility are substantially out of balance, other forces will bring them into closer balance. When power is not balanced with responsibility, a variety of forces may come to bear on business to become more responsible and more responsive to criticism being made against it. Some of these forces are obvious, including governmental actions, such as increased regulations and new laws to control the business activities, and consumer actions, such as boycotts or refusing to buy a company products. Media, especially investigative news and some special interest groups, may also bring pressure to the corporation. After the numerous corporate scandals in the U.S. Congress passed the law called Sarbanes-Oxley Act, which will regulate the power and abuse of corporation, and later on established the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. In the Philippines, a series of laws are also implemented, and a number of agencies are also responsible to protect the public from corrupt business practices. Prime example for this are the Consumer Act RA 7394, which serves as a guide on what business activities are prohibited and how to protect the consumers. And Philippines Limon Law RA 10642, which deals with actions concerning defective goods. For agencies, we have the Department of Trade and Industry, whose primary functions is to monitor the trade and business activities in the Philippines. Other agencies include National Food Authority for Food Security, specifically rice, and Bureau of Food and Drugs for monitoring quality and price of foods and cosmetic products.
From 5.3, stated balancing power with responsibility. It is a huge decision in terms of balancing the power and the responsibility itself. In business industry, we should put in the balance in order that everything will run smoothly, using power without considering other aspects in business industry, or even not in business, but in other companies nor government agencies as well, will not no longer achieve or being progressive because of the so-called abuses. The power and the responsibility can be used properly according to what are the needs or want from the member of that particular industry. It is agreed and supported. From iron law of responsibility, that no one can be a successful businessman if we do not use the power in a manner which society considers responsible. It will tend to lose it. It should be a sustainable balance. Think many times about the people around you or near you that will be more affected what decision you made. Balance the power that you have because your responsibility is to be progressive and be successful.
So I am going to tackle about the business response to concern and changing social contract. So in this topic, we will know how the business respond to its employees, to its stakeholders, and to the society as well. So one way of thinking about the business-society relationship is through social contract. Social contract is a set of understandings and expectations that characterize the relationship between major institutions. Also, social contract can be seen as applied or silent agreements that guide the behavior in relationships between the business and other groups in the society. So in other words, social contract is another term for a give and take relationship between the business and the society as well. So there are two main ways of social contract between the business and society. The first one is laws and regulations, and the second one is the shared understandings. Laws and regulations established as the framework in which the business must operate in its relationships with stakeholders, and shared understandings is that evolve over time as each group's expectations to the other. So I'm going to show you an illustration of how does really a social contract works between the business and the society. So as you can see in your monitor, on the left side is the business and the right side is the society or societal stakeholders group. And on the center, there's an arrow facing to the business, and that is the laws and regulations and also serves as the rules of the game. And on the downside is the two arrows facing both to the business and the society, that is the shared understandings. So laws and regulations quoted as the rules of the game because it serves as the rules to the business of which how they operate and they are accountable for. So whatever actions the business is doing, it might be positive or negative actions, the only accountable for that is the business alone. Nobody else could be blamed off. And shared understandings is how the business and the society understands each other.
This same topic is all about focus of this subject. So this subject takes a managerial approach to the business and society relationship. There are three main themes which are important to managers, organization, societies today, and these are the business ethics, sustainability, and stakeholder management. First is managerial approach. Managers are practical and they have to begin to deal with social and ethical concern in ways similar to those have used to manage traditional business function in a rational, systematic, and administrative sound fashion. Managers are pragmatic and they have to start to handle social and ethical concerns in methods that are comparable to those they have used to manage traditional business function in the administratively sound and sensible manner. There are two kinds of managerial approach issues, and these are the urgent and enduring issues. So, urgent issue, it is an issue that must have a quick response. For example, for this is when a group of workers suddenly shows in front of the company and asking for the raise of their salaries or else they won't show up to work. If this company will not address the issue urgently, so there is possibility that their employee will protest or will not show up to work. Second is enduring issue. Enduring issue is has to deal on a long-term basis. It includes environmental pollution, sustainability, in employment and discrimination, and workforce. Business ethics theme. Business ethics to the standard for morally right and wrong conduct in business. Business ethics set the bar for what is morally and proper behavior in the workplace. Sustainability theme. So the concept of sustainability is derived from the word sustainable development, which is pattern of resource use that aims to meet current human needs while preserving its environment so that their needs can be not only in the present but also for the future generation. Sustainable practices are designed to help ourselves and the world while keeping the future in our mind. Another is a sustainable ethic can be either anthropocentric or biocentric, life-centered. An advocate for conserving oil resources may consider all oil resources as property of humans, using oil resources wisely so that future generations have access to them, and attitude consistent with the anthropocentric ethic. Stakeholder management theme. Stakeholder management is a process of maintaining the good relationship between the business and society. And there are two kinds of stakeholder. First is the internal and second is the external. So internal stakeholder focuses in the issues employee as stakeholders of the business. Second is external stakeholder. It is referring to the outside stakeholder, which includes government, consumers, the natural environment, and the community members.